when did creating art begin for you?
Oh, I don't know. I can never not remember making art. From the time I was little. So the very first time I remember, where I remember a specific thing was painting Easter eggs for a YMCA project, and it was, we were supposed to decorate Easter eggs, and all the other kids were doing glitter and sequins and pipe cleaners and and painting, pasting it on, and it's like, I'm going to draw a portrait of a little gnome, and so I painted the whole thing, and it was like, wow, that's pretty great. So that's the first thing I remember. But I've always done it for a very long time. If I have any inspiration, it's a constant. I like to tell people I'm a pagan animist, because even though I grew up as a Lutheran, I snapped out of that relatively quickly, and I live. My experience of the world is a living world where it's alive, and I hear the voices of the world, and so that inspires me probably more than anything else.
You believe in magic, all kinds of magic.
Well, no, I think it's so interesting. It's like, it's not a question of belief; it's a question of, do you experience it? So belief is very different than experiencing it, because we can hold a belief without an experience. And in fact, I think kind of culturally, that's where we're stuck a little bit. We have beliefs in things, but we no longer have an actual visceral experience of it. So I experience the thing that other people call magic all the time. So it's simply the part and parcel of being, connected with your environment, with the people around you. It's like you in spring you watch things grow, and you don't sit and you stare at it and send energy toward it and say, grow, and I want you to grow like this. It just fucking grows, and it's like, that's how magic works. It's just fucking everywhere. I'm working on 2 books right now.
Good.
And one of them is very much it's P and I were just talking about it yesterday, about how there's this tendency when you're doing a new form to want to have the form, like at least the framework. Like, here's the framework I'm working with. And I keep getting really clearly that I want the barest of frameworks, because if I get a framework that's really solid, I'm going to feel like I have to do it right. And in doing that, I'm basically killing everything. So where I am seeing is that the magic of it is simply being in the experience of it and allowing it to unfold, and seeing where that takes me.
Do you have a story that you're most proud of?
No, actually, that's funny, because I get asked that a lot. Like, what's my favorite story, or what's this? No, every story that I've ever written, and even the ones I'm working on now, are in relation to what's right then and there. And it's kind of, I think of writing more and more like cooking. Like you cook, you may cook a fabulous meal, but it's also the people involved, the wine that you picked, the music, just the overall. But then it's gone. It's done. It's done. You don't walk through the day going, wow, that was a kick-ass meal. I'm pretty great because I did that. It's like, no, it's over. Move on. Now you've got another one. So that's kind of where I'm at with my writing too. I write this, and it'll connect with the people it connects with, and in the future it may connect with someone who's in a similar place, but that's not where I'm at anymore. I'm at some other place.
I feel like a lot of people see your stuff as advice. There's a lot of people that reach out to you.
Yeah, which is something we were just talking about this before we got online with you about Thea got an email that someone said, "Are you guys licensed psychiatrists or psychologists? And are you able to deal with trauma, et cetera, et cetera?" It's like we we were discussing it, going, well, how do you approach that? Because we like to, and this is not to lessen anybody or say that there's a hierarchy at all, but we like to work with people who are healthy, who have who hold their own wholeness already. They're not dragging behind a wound, or it's just interesting because there's that identity thing again. You can have the identity of a wounded person, and yet we really aren't. None of us are. We've had experiences that we go, fuck, that was an intense experience, and you either hold on to it or not. And again, I'm not lessening anybody's experience at all, but so no, we're not psychologists. We don't even pretend to be. What we are talking about is how we have a way of living and being in the world, and we can pass that on to say, here's what we found. It's not saying you have to do it this way or the way you're doing it is wrong. It's just like, we have found this, and it's not one of those things where it's theoretical. It actually is how we live, and it works for us, and here's why it works, and here's what we see, and it's not to say that there aren't 10,000 other ways of living, but this is a way that that actually really pays off in oh, here's another word, in the metrics, the metric of the situation. So back to the advice. I don't think so. I mean, again, I know that people read it that way, but I don't really feel like I'm in a position to give advice. What I can do is say, here's what I've seen. Here's this thing that works, and here's what I've noticed. And if somebody goes, wow, I've noticed that too, and then feels less isolated because of that, I think that's